Words excited delirium in a number of recent high-profile police custody deaths.
George Floyd. For Ronald Green, it was agitated delirium. And last night, we told you about the autistic teen Eric Parsa, who died in Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office custody in 2020. Good evening. I'm Katie Moore.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. Excited delirium has been used to explain why a severely agitated person suddenly dies. And it's controversial because it's most often used when someone dies in police custody.
But it's now losing support from many in the medical community. And before we talk more about it, we have a warning. The video that we're about to show you contains violent encounters with police that resulted in people's deaths.
The man was displaying excited delirium-like symptoms.
With this phrase of excited delirium.
What we would call excited delirium.
Words
excited delirium and
excited delirium
means so much.
We're learning more about the 16-year-old boy who died while in the custody of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office.
Just ask Darren Parsa and Donna Liu. Their severely autistic son, Eric Parsa, died after Jefferson Parish deputies restrained him face down in handcuffs in 2020.
He had very limited verbal skills. He spoke probably more like a toddler, two to three word sentences. Phrases, really, not sentences.
He didn't have the words to say, "I can't breathe" or "my chest hurts" during the struggle with his parents and deputies the day he died. His only word was fire truck.
It's like seared in my brain. It's like, you know.
It took the Jefferson Parish coroner months to find the words to describe how Eric died.
The official cause of death for a 16-year-old boy in the custody of Jefferson Parish Sheriff's deputies is now pending further studies.
Ultimately, Jefferson Parish's chief pathologist ruled Eric's death an accident caused by excited delirium due to an acute psychotic episode in the setting of his autism. The contributing factors listed: his obesity, the prone positioning, and an enlarged heart.
After Eric died, did you all hear the term excited delirium come up?
That wasn't until after. We'd never heard of it before he died.
The American Medical Association broadly defines excited or agitated delirium as being in a highly agitated and combative state, sometimes with an elevated temperature. The Parsas are both doctors. In fact, they're medically trained psychiatrists. And again, they had never heard of it.
From going through med school, that was a term I had never heard before. I was never taught that term in med school.
That's likely because excited delirium is not a psychiatric or medical diagnosis that has been recognized by the American Psychiatric Association or the World Health Organization on its list of diseases. It's a loosely defined set of symptoms often used when someone is high on drugs or mentally ill. It's often used when they die in law enforcement custody.
If there's a diagnosis that only happens when people die at the hands of police, a reasonable inference is that it is a way of avoiding accountability rather than seeking the truth.
Eric was far from the only one. Our partners in Denver tied the term excited delirium to more than 150 deaths nationwide since 2010. In Louisiana, our search of court records and media reports turned up 10. One of those was not law enforcement related. Among them was Ronald Green.
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Taser, taser, taser. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back.
The Union Parish coroner initially listed cocaine-induced agitated delirium complicated by motor vehicle collision, physical struggle, inflicted head injury, and restraint as Ronald Green's cause of death.
And I beat the ever-living out of him.
Later, forensic reviews of his autopsy found the physical struggle failed to adequately account for the beating he took from Louisiana state troopers.
The coroner says McLaughlin died from excited delirium.
The same goes for Tommy McLaughlin, a 44-year-old man who died in the back of a Shreveport police car in 2020 who was having a mental health crisis. This is video of how Shreveport police got him in there. The 4 Shreveport police officers involved were acquitted of manslaughter in his death in a judge trial last year. A medical examiner testified in the trial McLaughlin would have died even if police hadn't beat and tased him because he was in a state of excited delirium.
You embrace myths because they benefit you in some way to embrace them.
Dr. Michael Freeman is a forensic epidemiologist who co-authored a study on excited delirium.
When there's law enforcement involved and the death occurs during restraint, that's when the term excited delirium is invoked.
4 major medical organizations are moving away from using the term. The American Medical Association in June published a statement saying, quote, current evidence does not support excited delirium as an official diagnosis and opposes its use until a clear set of diagnostic criteria has been established.
It's a collection of behaviors and symptoms, and I think that when allegations are made that the diagnosis is overused, it doesn't mean that the diagnosis doesn't exist.
Jefferson Parish Coroner Dr. Jerry Satanovich says he's seen the aftermath of it firsthand, both as a former ER doctor and as coroner.
In excited delirium deaths, the autopsy does not show a cause of death. So you wind up doing an autopsy that doesn't show strangulation, doesn't show any trauma that would cause death. And so where do you go from there? You've got to go and look at the entirety of the presentation.
Jefferson Parish Sheriff Joe Lopinto, who recently settled the Parsa family's federal civil rights lawsuit, echoes that.
I think excited delirium is a term that gets thrown around pretty loosely, but I think it's also a term that is because we just don't know what happened.
And that's exactly why the state of California recently passed a law banning the use of excited or agitated delirium as an official cause of death. Physician and Assemblywoman Akilah Weber co-sponsored the bill.
People are now saying, hey, you should not be using this because we don't know exactly what it is and we don't have medical evidence to support it. And therefore, that's why we're now all talking about it. California's done something about it and hopefully other states across the country will as well.
The medical organizations, including the National Association of Medical Examiners, are pushing for pathologists to find the root cause of what killed the person and list that instead of a catch-all term.
I think we use it judiciously, we use it properly, and if in the opinion of the pathologist we have a case where it comes up again, I will support them using it. I will also, I also know that they're more likely going to follow up behind the recommendations of the National Association of Medical Examiners and use the descriptive terms instead of the syndrome, because it's the same thing.
The Parsa case is the only one where JP used excited delirium on a death certificate in recent years. And his parents are asking Satanovich to take another look at it, not only because the medical organizations are recommending coroners move away from it.
Eric had acted that way in the past because of being on the severe end of the autism spectrum. So in and of itself, his behavior wasn't something out of the blue that never, this was something that we had seen previously because of his diagnosis and for which he was being treated.
If somebody came and asked us to look at it again, we wouldn't shut the door on him, we'd talk to him. I'm not sure what we would do.
The Parsa family also wants the coroner to reconsider the cause of death. It's accidental right now. They feel like it should be homicide because the forensic examiner testified in a deposition that Eric wouldn't have died if he hadn't been held by the deputies in a prone position. That does not mean there was criminal intent. That would be up to investigators and prosecutors to decide.